Namaskar. My heartfelt gratitude to all of you for being here. The chosen prayer from the prayers and meditations of the Mother. Today we have March 12, the prayer written on March 12, 1914. And the title which my limited mind gave it for the satsang is To Know and Serve Thee Better. The prayer is an intense and comprehensive, it's written with a comprehensive aspiration for service of the divine. And not only in this prayer, but there are many, many prayers of the Mother where she has talked about service. And whenever she talks about service, to serve thee, to serve the divine, she attaches a very special sense which can't be found anywhere. And it is very, you can say, the underlining term in Sri Aurobindo and the Mother's yoga. What is service? So let us read this prayer, which has been written with an, you can say, absolute consecration to service of the divine. March 12, 1914. O Lord, my one aspiration is to know Thee and serve Thee better every day. What do outer circumstances matter? They seem to me each day more vain and illusory, and I take less and less interest in what is going to happen to us in the outer life. But more and more am I intensely interested in the one thing which seems important to me: to know Thee better in order to serve Thee better. All outer events must converge upon this goal, and this goal alone. And for that, all depends upon the attitude we have towards them. To seek Thee constantly in all things, to want to manifest Thee ever better in every circumstance, in this attitude lies supreme peace, perfect serenity, true contentment. In it life blossoms, widens, expands so magnificently in such majestic waves that no storm can any longer disturb it. O Lord, Thou art our safeguard, our only happiness. Thou art our resplendent light, our pure love, our hope and our strength. Thou art our life, the reality of our being. In a reverent and joyful adoration, I bow to Thee. So, the Mother has always given a very heightened connotation to the word service. A special sense attaches to it when Mother talks about service in her yogic philosophy. It can be considered, in fact, this word service, true service, divine service, can be considered as a watchword or a keyword of our own spiritual expression and fulfillment. According to the Mother, human birth has only one objective: to serve the divine. And all human activities and efforts which we pursue from birth to birth are only a preparation for it. The soul comes into material world not to lose itself in a world of desires, ambitions, attachments. Neither does it come to take a beating retreat from the terrestrial life, but to manifest the spirit in matter. And the mother says, service is the great end. It is the end of all ends. And in fact, at one point, she used the rapturous tryst of spirit with matter. That means divinizing matter. That is the ultimate aim, and that is the true service. And for that, she is in this prayer wanting to have that know-how, one can say maybe that spiritual technology, which would help her serve the Lord better. So, if we look at the first part of the prayer, O Lord, my one aspiration is to know Thee better and serve Thee better every day. So right away, in the beginning of the prayer, she's setting everything right. This is the way to pray, not to have to go here or there, wherever she is. So, to serve Thee better every day, in every situation. What do outer circumstances matter? Do we need a special place for a prayer? Do we need special chants? Do we need to do anything in order to pray and connect with the divine? We don't. Wherever we are, whatever we are doing, if we offer it to the divine, that itself becomes a great service. They seem to me each day more vain and illusory, and I take less and less interest in what is going to happen to us in the outer life. But more and more am I intensely interested in the one thing which seems important to me, to know Thee better in order to serve Thee better. In this short passage, she has written it twice, to know Thee and serve Thee better. Then to know Thee better and to serve Thee better. So, Mother always said, one's whole aspiration has to be to know, to love and to serve. To know, to love and to serve. Once we know that, and we are convinced that our birth, the human birth, is not a fall. It's not a chance happening of the mechanical nature, but it has a divine purpose. It has a divine mission. And that divine mission is evolutionary in nature. Once we are very convinced that what our terrestrial life is meant to be, our entire outlook of life takes a radical change. Then we no longer struggle to escape from the earthly life. Earlier, if we have certain, hang-ups about, this, you have to get out of this terrestrial life. No, the Mother and Sri Aurobindo both. Life is here. The terrestrial life has a meaning. It has a purpose. It has an evolutionary mission. And once we are convinced of that, we don't think of getting out of this life. We don't think about getting out. In fact, we try to realize the pulse and purpose of it. And we try to live our life worthily, usefully, beautifully. So, and also, this knowledge about how to serve Thee better, even if we realize that, okay, we in this terrestrial life, we play a special role. Man is an intermediary for divinizing matter. And the moment we turn to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, so this knowledge should not, what it usually does is it puffs us up. It gives us it bloats us up. It gives us an inflated sense. But that is not what is required. True knowledge will always lead to humility and seeing the self in others. The Mother seeks this knowledge. She's seeking this knowledge to serve Him better. But she's not seeking this knowledge for her own sake or for its own sake, but to serve the divine in the best possible way. Even the bliss of union, she lets go. There are so many prayers in this prayers and meditations where she has had this ultimate realization. She is in that state of sublime union with the divine, yet she lets go of that. So here, in the prayers and meditations, we often find that there is a reversal. We leave the outer life to go inward. Here she does the reverse. She lets go of that union and she plunges into the work to serve. And so many prayers are there where she says that she wants to be only a servant of the divine, to unite her will with the divine will and do what the divine wants her to do. In fact, there are prayers here where the divine tells her, do not get into that ecstatic feeling or do not revel in that ecstatic union and get back to work in this earthly life, in the earthly self. So, what is this knowledge then that she's talking about? It is the knowledge about true service. And what is true service? In the Gita, there is an elaborate explanation, you can say, or there is an elaboration about what is service to be done in the spirit of devotion and then selflessness and psychological and one can say practical disinterestedness. And it is a very powerful means for liberation and purification. And the mother has not denied that. In fact, she has said that by true service, she means something that goes beyond it. She says that this initial stage of practical disinterestedness or, nishkam karma that we talk of, it is indispensable. It plays a very significant role in preparing us. But she says that the crowning movement comes only with true service to the divine, which is to express the divine in matter. So in that way, one can say that true service is not only a means for the divine union, but it is more than that. It is an expression of the divine in matter. So really speaking then, is it not the service of the divine by the divine himself? So matter reveals the divine. Yes, that is the goal. Matter reveals the divine, but only when the divine chooses to reveal himself. So what is the sign of this state? When do we attain to this state? And what is the sign? When the individual is at once the receiver and the giver. It's just a point. We are just a point through which the divine action can take place through us. We are just the instrument. And what leads us to become this instrument is giving up of the ego, becoming an egoless self. And what makes us egoless is the soul means is a true surrender, the integral surrender, which Sri Aurobindo has talked about in details. So she is seeking this know-how for serving the divine better. I would like to read out one prayer, May 4th, 1914, where, in fact, whatever she is saying in this prayer, it kind of, you can say, the science behind true service. She is elaborating this in just few lines. To be merged both in thee and thy work, to be no longer a limited individuality, to become the infinitude of thy forces, manifesting through one point, to be freed from all shackles and all limitations, to rise above all restrictive thought. And she says something very, very poignant and significant. To act while remaining outside the action. To act with and for individuals while seeing only oneness, the oneness of thy love, thy knowledge, thy being. So, this is the ultimate state when one starts seeing the self in others, and when the work is done with a sense of offering to only the divine, seeing only the divine, and the sense that we are just instruments. And how to become true instrument, how to become that perfect instrument is what is important, to receive as well as to give. We are just like points, and that is where the transformation of matter. This is how the transformation of matter can actually happen. So, serving the divine is a life transforming ideal. She goes on to say in the prayer, all outer events must converge upon this goal alone, and for that, all depends upon the attitude we have towards them. To seek thee constantly in all things, to want to manifest thee ever better in every circumstance. In this attitude lies supreme peace, perfect serenity, true contentment. So, here she is talking about the right attitude. In fact, if we look at this prayer, all the strands of divine service are really woven into this prayer. The right spirit, the right attitude, the right way of seeking that knowledge which will help us in serving the divine better. So, delight, power, peace, purity, all will come from service, because service is the most concrete, one can say, expression of our love and devotion for the divine. So, our attitude becomes essentially psychic when we start seeing the divine in everything. Our attitude towards events, circumstances, everything should be such that in the simplest of movements, which we even consider simple, not in the very big things. Big things se pehle to hum, we do offer and we do pray to the mother, okay, let this be a successful. But what about the little moments throughout the day? Eating, sleeping, drinking, reading, walking, talking. When in everything we start becoming aware and we feel the divine presence, then our heart is at peace. To celebrate the birth of a transitory body will give delight and joy to very faithful people around, the family, the friends, the relatives and all. But to celebrate, Mother says, to celebrate the birth of new consciousness, it can be done at any moment and it can happen anywhere. And there is no fixed point at which it is going to happen. The attitude is so important in seeking. Mirabai, where did she find Krishna? She did not find him in the palace. First of all, she realized Krishna within herself. And later on, when she becomes perpetually one with Krishna, it is not in the palace she did. Then Sri Aurobindo, where does he have the first realization of the divine presence? It is in Alipur jail. The mother, in a very, you can say, one of the busiest streets of Tokyo. So it is not that one can realize the divine only when one is in a particular situation, one has done so much, one is sitting silently in deep contemplation. Yes, contemplation, silence, everything, they are also service. Because when we do that, they also purify the environment. But that is not all. When we are in a state where we start seeing the divine everywhere, in everything we do, there is at the back of our mind, there is something that makes us feel that yes, Ma, you are there with me. In this also you are there with me. I am eating a meal, Ma, you are there with me. So, in the ashram, Pondicherry ashram, Swami Sharananand ji, he came for Sri Aurobindo's darshan. And in those days, the darshan there used to be quite a regime, They used to follow a very strict regime. They had to send the photograph and then you had to write to them, to Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And then the darshans were arranged. So he was standing in the line and Swami Sharananand ji was blind. So somebody says, you have come for darshan? How will you see the master? You can't see the master and the master will not speak. Sri Aurobindo spoke very little. So Swami Sharananand ji says, look at the attitude with what he's saying, and so profound. He says, अगर मेरी आँखें होती तो भी मैं कितना देख लेता. मैं तो इसलिए आया हूँ कि उनकी दृष्टि मुझ पर पड़े. So what such a profound, you can say, attitude, one can say, of submission, of surrender, So John Milton, his very famous phrase, even they serve who wait. So even when you feel that nothing is happening in life, nothing, we are just waiting, at that time also, if we wait patiently with an awareness, yes, that is also true service. Then, so setting you don't need a separate setting or a separate circumstance, When we are seeking the divine in a under special circumstances, then if those circumstances are not met, then we will be upset. But if we are seeking the divine in everything, there are lot many more chances that you will find him. So, once I remember, there are days when I am not able to come to the satsang, and I remember very vividly that it was a special day and I wanted to attend it, but I could not come. So wherever I was at home, I I just kept on thinking and just offered that I am not able to go. So, but I sat at home. And that experience, I feel, was much more profound had I come to the satsang and I would have heard the speaker. He was an eminent speaker who was coming. Had I heard him, maybe I would have listened and I would have. But the experience which I had, that want, that, that wish and that offering of that wish to the, it was much more profound. And that stayed with me. हम लोग नहीं आ पाते हैं regularly ashram में, we are not staying in the ashram and we can't go to Pondicherry. But doesn't it fill you up with doesn't it take you to the beatific state when you think of the samadhi? When you just imagine the samadhi in Pondicherry and you think and you feel. So that perhaps Mother is talking about that when we are seeking the divine in every circumstance, everywhere, then the outer circumstances don't matter. It is you can say the inner preparedness or the inner orientation. So this inward orientation, when it is there, life begins to bloom and widen. And that is what she is saying over here. In it, life blooms, widens, spreads out so magnificently, in such majestic waves that no storm can any longer disturb it. In Upanishad, it is said, Bhuteshu Bhuteshu Vichitya. You're making your will according to the will of the divine, seeking him everywhere. So the will to manifest him better in every circumstance. This is a truly psychic movement. Not originating in the mind, neither in the heart. It is very, very psychic. So when the soul awakes, I'm sure all of us have experienced this. When the soul awakes, there is a kind of a feeling of inadequacy. A feeling of seeking something more, not being satisfied with what we see around us or we feel. And it draws us upward to something very inconceivable, and we are very sure and we certainly know in our being that there is an inconceivable splendor. Call it divine, call it supernatural, call it anything. It is always there. And at this stage, there are two possibilities. One is that if the seeking or if this movement is from the static side, that we want to just, get away from this outwardliness and we want to just experience that splendor, that divine, it's the static self. So here, there would be a possibility that we would move more towards the illusory sense that, sansar mithya hai, all that is happening around us is very vague and fleeting. And whereas the Mother says it's not like that. So it is only when the static part is seeking. But when there is a true opening, the full opening of the psychic, the static, the witnessing Purusha, and the dynamic Prakriti, then what happens is this urge to serve, it becomes even more. We realize why terrestrial life is there, what are we supposed to do? It is only in that service that we will find that true joy and that true satisfaction. And this can express in whatever we offer. If we offer it very sincerely with utter surrender to the divine, that itself will pave the way for further service that is required of us. She says, O Lord, Thou art our safeguard, our only happiness. Thou art our resplendent light, our pure love, our hope, and our strength. Thou art our life, the reality of our being. So, what she's saying is, He alone is, and for us, she alone is. So, when we are in this, one can say, in this prelim stage, the preliminary stage of purification and liberation, so as is highlighted in the Gita, so this is, one can say, it is man's love for the divine. It is a Godward movement. It is an upward movement, Godward movement. And Rishabh Chandji, one of earlier disciples of Sri Aurobindo, he coined these words, Godward service and God-possessed earthward service. Means man's love for the divine is an upward movement, but the Lord's love for all creation coming down in torrents in the form of grace and love. So this is God-possessed earthward service. So there is an upward movement, but we are just, one has to remember it all the time, that we are just the intermediary. True service is at once a victory of love, definitely, and an action of the grace. And the last line of the prayer, she is showing the way. In a reverent and joyful adoration, I bow to thee. She talks about this active surrender. And what is the sign that the surrender is active? We are filled with adoration for the divine, thankfulness, gratitude. So, a loving, unreserved, and joyful self-surrender of the whole being is the best soul means of becoming a servant of the divine. Let us read this prayer again. The prayers and meditations, this scripture, as I now refer it to as, we all know Sri Aurobindo's yoga is in Savitri. The whole of Savitri is actually Sri Aurobindo's yoga. And the mother herself, she told Mona Sarkar, he was known as Monada in Pondicherry Ashram, she told him that the prayers and meditations which she had written over a period of few years, they are her own experiences of her own sadhana that she did. And she said that the same intensity of vibration and rhythm as is there in Savitri, it is also there in the prayers and meditations. And it also has the prayers and meditations also have the same intuition and the same origin as that of Savitri. So there are so many prayers which the mother has written about service, and ultimately it is the mother's love which one can feel in these prayers, and it is one of the most concrete material links which she has left behind for all of us. Let us read this prayer again. March 12, 1914. O Lord, my one aspiration is to know Thee and serve Thee better every day. What do outer circumstances matter? They seem to me each day more vain and illusory, and I take less and less interest in what is going to happen to us in the outer life. But more and more am I intensely interested in the one thing which seems important to me, to know Thee better in order to serve Thee better. All outer events must converge upon this goal, and this goal alone. And for that, all depends upon the attitude we have towards them. To seek Thee constantly in all things, to want to manifest Thee ever better in every circumstance, in this attitude lies supreme peace, perfect serenity, true contentment. In it life blossoms, widens, expands so magnificently in such majestic waves that no storm can any longer disturb it. O Lord, Thou art our safeguard, our only happiness. Thou art our resplendent light, our pure love, our hope, and our strength. Thou art our life, the reality of our being. In a reverent and joyful adoration, I bow to Thee.